There have been countless stories about Vancouver's downtown east side, the drugs, the prostitution, and now AIDS. But this isn't one of them. This is a story about communities like mine and probably yours. David Lee works down here and used to live on these streets. He has HIV. In this small area, the rate of infection is higher than anywhere else in the Western world, and many are native. Every day, someone new tests positive here. David's family is back in Alberta and up in Prince George.
That's my mother's side of the family, and they want nothing to do with me. It's like I'm outcast, like, don't come here. And it hurts, but I've let it go because that's what they chose to do. I'm not going to go force myself on them if they're not willing to learn. So I've let them go.
The stories of people down here with HIV are part of a bigger story, the health of our communities. Their pain, their rejection, or their fear of being rejected is all about the families that we come from. Not every family and not every community turns its back, but we've still got a long way to go. My community of Bella Bella, for example, is now struggling to be open and understanding. Some people with HIV are still afraid to talk about it, and the community health center is just now thinking of setting up support services, even though 6 people have already died from AIDS, and we know over a dozen more are infected, and some of them are down here.
There are over 500 Native people living in and out of hotels like this. Most of them are IV drug users, and at least half of them are living with AIDS. Lori Pelche has called this hotel and others like it home. She came here from Saskatchewan 6 years ago. She too has HIV from sharing needles. She's seen the rats and cockroaches. She's also seen people die in these rooms, sometimes without anyone knowing for weeks. And she's seen people from her own community here too.
I ran into a few of them out here, a few of them that I grew up with out here, back there. I've died here. Some of them are too scared to go back because, for one thing, they'll tell me they're positive, but, you know, I said, well, are you going home? I can't, you know that. And the thing is, I know. It's just like an unwritten thing between us. I know, because they wouldn't, what are they going to do with us?
Native women are getting infected faster than any other group. Poverty, abuse, not being able to talk about sex and IV drugs, and knowing almost nothing about AIDS. These are the new risk factors, and they are the story of so many of our lives and communities.
I haven't been home for 10 years, over 10 years now. They don't want to deal with it because it's just not, they're not ready for it. The communities are so small, they're not ready to expand their knowledge or nothing, what's going on the outside, because this is what's going on inside their little world.
What's that?
A time warp, I think, because they're still way behind.
Few communities have even the modest support that exists for Native people with HIV in Vancouver. They feel safe enough here because it's in their own neighborhood. They get respect and confidentiality. Without these things, people don't get tested and don't know if they're positive. So the shame keeps them in silence and spreads the virus.
When I was told by my doctor in my hometown, it was just like he made a community announcement. He had his door wide open to his private little office, and his waiting room was just full of people, and he was practically shouting it at the top of his lungs.
Because of how she was treated at home, Jane is terrified and doesn't want people to know she has AIDS. About a year before she tested positive, her boyfriend gave her black roses. He told her he was dying of cancer and had something he needed to tell her. and then he killed himself. Jane's sure he wanted to say he'd been using IV drugs and got AIDS, but because of the abuse he went through as a child, he couldn't talk about anything private.
He didn't even tell me. Every time we sat down to talk, he never could get the words out. And he shot himself. I was called a slut, a whore. And that's how I got it, by sleeping around.
Did anybody offer any support at all?
No. They offered me a drink. They offered me a toke. That's what they offered me. I was threatened to be shot. And I didn't want my children in danger because of me. I didn't want them to be discriminated against. So I moved. As fast as possible. Within a couple days, I was out of there.
A band counselor helped her escape to Vancouver. She got her bus tickets and a safe place to stay for a while. They come down from communities like hers all the time, looking for some place to start again. The odds are against them. Alone, poor, and when substance abuse is already in their life, this is the place they often end up. They may try to go back home, but their fear of losing what little family they do have helps the virus spread in the silence and keeps them running. So drugs become their only reliable support system.
It's the only escape that I have left. I don't have the money to go anywhere. And if I do, I'm bound to Vancouver because Vancouver is one of the only places I can get these medications. And they're only going to give me 2 weeks at a time.
Chris is from northern BC, but grew up in Edmonton. He knows that the problem is larger than him and his disease.
What am I going to do? My family doesn't care about me. My mother goes and gets a 40-pounder, but she can't send me $10. Yeah.
So there's no family support back home?
There's no family support whatsoever. I call her up. She's drunker than a skunk. She spent a lot of money on alcohol, but she can't send me $10.
Chris and his girlfriend are always high on cocaine or Tylenol 3s. It helps them with the pain. They spend their days looking for money, food, and drugs. But no matter how bad it can get here, it's better than going home.
No, I don't want to go. I can't guarantee that I'll be fed there. Yeah, she had moved up north the last time I was in Edmonton. They had left me a tray of donuts to live on for 4 days.
When people down here test positive, most spiral out on drugs in places like this. If they're shooting cocaine, they can easily be doing 20 hits a day. After the doctor breaks the news, most never recover. But for David, it was a turning point.
They're arguing out loud for 20 minutes the pros and cons of living and dying. And I chose to live. And like, I never want to be alone like that again. I can't imagine that, going through that again, because I don't know how I would react now. To this day, it still bothers me that I had to do that, but
David quit using IV drugs and devotes himself now to making sure others don't go through what he did. He works the streets and alleys for the needle exchange.
hey, Joanne, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
He trades addicts dirty needles for clean ones. Needles cost money, And the idea is if they give them out, there's less chance people will share them and pass on HIV. David has done a lot of healing in the last 6 years. He does what he can to stay healthy, he works out, has lots of friends, and found the strength to look inside himself spiritually. After 6 months off drugs, he also found the courage to reach out to his aunt on his father's side of the family.
It was one of the hardest things I had to do.
And your aunt
Mm-hmm.
said,
So, it's not going to stop me from loving you, is what she said. And that's all I need to hear. And as soon as she said that, I just started crying. And since then, I've been back a few times, and they don't treat me any differently. Still tell me the same things. You want to eat? Yeah? Well, go cook it yourself.
There you go.
In Vancouver, they can find some sense of community with other HIV-positive people, support workers, and doctors. But outside these safe walls, they still keep their shame a secret, especially to their families. These are a few of the names of Native people who've died from AIDS. This small memorial on a board in a hallway is all that's left of their very private struggle. And people down here want the silence to end.
I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of running. And I'm just, I don't know, I guess I'm like Custer's last stand, I'll go down with the slaughter, but you take me as I am, or don't take me at all, I don't care.
The rejection these HIV-positive people experience seems at odds with the traditional, welcoming nature of our Native families and communities. When and why did this break take place? Will our people's strength and resilience be able to overcome this complex new disease? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves